A great way to have moist, delicious fish is to bake it in a salt crust. And it's really easy to do, and it doesn't impart a really salty flavor to the fish at all, even though you might think it would. Let me show you how to do it. Start out with 1 egg white. This is going to help bind the salt together, and it'll brown slightly as it bakes in the oven, and that'll be an indicator that the fish inside is done. So pour 1 egg white and 2 cups of kosher salt. You need a lot because you have to cover the whole fish and cover every crevice of it. And you want to stir all of this together until all of the salt is coated with egg white. And this may take a little while. It's going to take a few minutes to incorporate, and you may want to add a little bit of water to help moisten it, but not too much because you don't want the salt to dissolve. You just want it to sort of become the consistency of wet sand. When your salt is sort of like wet sand, you can see the consistency here. That's just perfect. So we're going to start out, we want to line the bottom of a baking tray, the tray you're going to bake it in, with a little bit of salt. So, because the salt acts like an insulator, and it holds in the heat, but it also conducts it so it's not as harsh as it might be just touching metal. So start out with a little bit of a bed for your piece of fish. And you may need to up the amount of salt and egg whites if you have a really big fish or if you have a whole fish. Lay your fish down on the salt and then pack the salt all over the fish and around it, completely sealing it in. And this might take a little finagling. And if you want to impart some extra flavor to your fish, you can tuck some herbs against the skin of the fish before you put on the salt crust. Once your fish is completely encased in salt, you want to pop it into the oven and let it bake for probably, depending on the size of your fish, 20 to 30 minutes. If you have a really big fish, it may take up to 40 minutes. I like to use a fairly high temperature, 350 to 400 degrees. I know that's a big differential. I prefer 400, but if you want to bake it a little bit slower, 350 is great also. Once your fish is out of the oven, use the handle of a knife or the edge of a spatula to crack the crust and lift off chunks of the salt. Use a pastry brush to brush, or a clean towel to brush off any of the excess salt. Then drizzle your fish with a little bit of olive oil and a sprinkling of lemon and serve.